I was going to say, I was surprised at that. Arne, we just had a chat with Ryan, and he spoke about his dad's been telling him to shoot more. What have you been telling him?
Hopefully other dads say the same then against other players. What did I tell him? Nothing specific. I didn't tell him to shoot more, but he's been in and around the box a few times more now. But the main thing he needs to do, of course, is set up our attacks and organize the rest defense. But once in a while he can be a help offensively also, and that's what he's done a few times already this season. And yeah, this weekend he had a little bit of luck because it was a deflection. Because if Ryan has to shoot with his left, I wonder if his dad tells him to shoot with his left. But the deflection meant that it led to a goal.
What update can you give us at the moment on Isak, Frimpong and Alisson and their respective recoveries?
That they're all three not available for tomorrow.
Any timescale as yet?
Jeremy and Alisson will both also be not available for Sunday. And with Alex, we have to wait and see. Definitely not starting on Sunday, but Sunday, yeah. But maybe he can be involved in the squad, but he's still not training with the team, so we have to wait and see.
After the win over Villa, how pivotal a moment could this be in the season, do you think? Obviously with Real Madrid to come and a place in the top 8 at stake, but also the fact that you've got Manchester City, and whether that comes into any of your thinking ahead of this game against Real Madrid?
No, the Sunday game is not in my thinking when it comes to the lineup for tomorrow, because there are, I think, 4 days in between where we've had a lot of moments this season where there were only 2 days in between, like tomorrow, but that is maybe for the first time this season. For the opponent we face, it's the same. So many other times when we only had 2 days rest, we faced a team that had a week rest or 3 days rest or 4 days rest. So for tomorrow, that's exactly the same for both teams. So the lineup for tomorrow will have nothing to do with what happens on Sunday. The good thing is that we won on Saturday, but yeah, that was about time, I would say, for us to start winning a game of football again.
And obviously it could be Trent's first return to Anfield. I just wonder, I mean, Ryan said that he's going to give him a hug. What kind of reception will he get from yourself, and what kind of reception do you hope that Anfield gives Trent as well?
No, I can only tell you what kind of reception he gets from me. I have great memories on the player and on the human being. He was our vice captain. He was my vice captain last season. I have memories working with him who were only positive. And I have memories when I was watching him in front of the television, which are only positive as well. I can remember multiple great moments of him wearing the Liverpool shirt. So he will get a warm welcome by me. And let's first wait and see if he's on the pitch tomorrow. And how our fans will react. I have no clue how that's going to be. But he gets a warm welcome from me, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Hi Arne, Juan Jawe for Flash Score. Of course it has been a very tough period for the club and the team. I would like to ask you if you could send a message to the Liverpool fans after all the defeats in the last weeks and the win against Aston Villa last Saturday. It would be a message of hope, it would be a message of patience, it would be an apology. What would you like to say to the Liverpool fans? Thank you.
You already gave a lot of answers in your question, but I can say to them, show up tomorrow and help us again like you did Saturday. So they were a big help for the team. And again, tomorrow we face a team that is on a great run of form, like Villa was as well. And then it's always very pleasant to play at home, because in the run of form we had, we almost only played away games. Yeah, I think Anfield showed Saturday how important they can be for the team. So let's hope the players and the team and the fans can do the same tomorrow evening.
Hi Arne, you've got the same 2 fixtures back to back as you had last season with Real and Manchester City. I mean, you obviously won them both last year. Is it a kind of test for where you are as a team now to have those 2 games again?
Every game we play is a test, especially because we are a new team. It's not the same because last season we played them both at home, and now one of them is away. It's not the same because last season we faced Real Madrid, who had many injuries, and now they haven't. It's not the same because last season we were a different team than we are now. We're with them. When now all the injuries are back, they have the same squad and added a few. And City made a few changes like us as well. So, but every game we play at this moment of time, oh, by the way, every single time is always a test to see where we are. And that was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and that's this week the same.
Well behind.
I always find it really hard to react on if you say what someone else said, because it wouldn't be the first time in my life if someone changes a few words. This has happened by me a lot of times when media goes to different managers and then say something what I supposed to have said. So I don't know what Steven exactly said. He's a big fan of Liverpool, he's a big fan of the current team, and he wants us to win, but I have no clue what he exactly said. To what you are saying, yes, we are facing a very good team that has been so successful in Europe for so many years and are so successful again this season. We have a great team, a great manager and great individual players. So we respect the opponent a lot. Like Steven Gerrard does, I'm now 100% sure that he rates Real Madrid very high as well. But he also rates Liverpool very high. And I'm not going to comment on what you said, he said, because I'm not 100% sure if that is exactly what he said.
First in front.
For Liverpool then, was that maybe their best performance of the season against Aston Villa? And for you, is it a case for Arne Slot, who's just back to basics? Let's kind of use as many title winners as we can, where we can, and just put forward our tried and tested players?
Yeah, I think that was something I mentioned a few weeks ago, to try and almost go back to sort of last season and just add a couple of the signings in there. So I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Obviously, Ekitike played. I don't think there was too many more really in the team in terms of signing wise. And that's not so much a criticism of the players who've come in, but maybe you could look at the manager and say maybe has he put them all in too much at the start all together as well. And you go back to sort of Jurgen Klopp's time, a lot of the players there, I think of Andy Robertson, so we're talking about Carragher. I'm finding it tough initially at Liverpool. Andy Robertson didn't really play for the first 2 or 3 months at all. He got, bled in a little bit, as I say, gradually. Fabinho was the same as well in central midfield position. So maybe a lot of it has come maybe a little bit too early for all of the players who have signed for the club, and maybe they could have been bled in a little bit later, and maybe that's what he's going to do now over these coming months.
What do you think happens when Isak's back fit then?
Ekitike has to play now. I could totally understand it's not easy, and this was always my reservation about buying 2 strikers for that much money who both play in the same position. It's very difficult to see a Liverpool team, or any team really, get 2 strikers on the pitch unless maybe you're playing 3 at the back. It's not easy to do that. And so I understand him trying to get Isak in the team, even though Ekitike was doing well, because he's a great player. He's got to get him fit, and he's also played a lot of money for him. And my mind boggles going forward how this is going to work. But right now, Ekitike's got the shirt. He's playing really well, and it'll probably do Isak a little bit of good if he's not so much out the team, but maybe builds his fitness up more in training than rather than the games right now, because obviously a lot of fingers are getting pointed at him, and it means Ekitike's got to be on the bench, which is not right at the moment.
And I guess it helps to come back into a team that's winning as well, right? And in good form.
But where does he come back in?
Yeah.
I've been, I knew this would happen. I know.
Well, you're going to talk about that later, I'm sure. A huge game in the Champions League tomorrow. Liverpool up against Real Madrid. Of course, all the talk in the build-up has been about Trent returning to Anfield. And what have you made of his start to life at Real Madrid? Because I think he started just a couple of league games. Well,
he's found it tough just through injury, really. And you've got to remember who, not so much the guy he's replacing, he was coming up and going to compete for a position, up alongside, a legend, Carvajal for Real Madrid, won numerous Champions Leagues. I think he scored in the Champions League final a couple of years ago as well. So he's a special player, special character, but he's just got an injury as well, which will help Trent in terms of getting games. But I think they've been using Valverde at right back a little bit like the way Liverpool using Szoboszlai at right back at times this season. But so Trent will eventually get his head at right back now with the injury to Carvajal. But I'm not sure it will be at Anfield. I think he'll be on the bench.
Okay. You looking forward to it though?
I am. It's a great game. Real Madrid came last year.
Yeah.
Liverpool had a great result. They'll want the same again. Xabi Alonso came last year with a different team by Leverkusen. Liverpool got a great result again. Seems so long ago, doesn't it? These
Yeah,
great
it does.
results for Liverpool. So hopefully Real Madrid and Xabi Alonso get the same treatment. And Manchester City next weekend, two of the best footballing teams in world football. Now, Aston Villa are a good footballing team, but they're not at the level of those two teams. And Liverpool got 2 goals from pressing and winning the ball back. There's been a lot of talk about Aston Villa. Why were they playing out from the back when Liverpool have sort of had problems dealing with long balls? But Unai Emery isn't going to change his whole idea and philosophy of football just because he's playing Liverpool. But I actually think it was more Aston Villa's mistakes with the ball rather than Liverpool's press. And at times, Villa caused Liverpool problems in terms of playing out. And the reason I just want to do the analysis is because if they don't get this even better than what we saw on Saturday, I think Real Madrid and Manchester City could cause Liverpool problems when they're trying to win the ball back. So we're going to look at a clip early on. And it goes back to Liverpool and how they set up. So we see the ball in, but it goes back to, again, about having the extra man at the back. Really. So we always just be mindful of this situation. So when the ball goes back now with Matty Cash, Mo Salah here, as we see, doesn't go with a full-back. He always tries to press a goalkeeper or the centre-back. Look what happens. Bradley tries to go there. He can never get there. Gravenberch is here at the back. They've got the extra man at the back. Hence why Morgan Rogers got all that space in the midfield there, because Gravenberch is almost playing in a back 5. Wonderful pass by Morgan Rogers. He doesn't sit back and admire it. Supports it as well. And when you talk about what's been going wrong for Liverpool a lot, Arne has mentioned the fact that they've been conceding early goals. Well, that's the little bit of luck that you need. And it means Aston Villa don't go 1-0 up. Now, this, again, is slightly different. So we stop it there. What's the difference? Gravenberch is pushing in, and it is almost a man-to-man system. And I think Liverpool have got to utilise that a lot more, especially when it comes from a goal kick. We look at the back, 4v4. OK, Andy Robertson just ready to jump there. And that, for me, is a lot better. And I think Liverpool have had problems with the press all season because they haven't gone man-to-man enough in situations like that. So Andy Robertson pushes in there, but in a great position to pick it up, then almost scores a goal. And that comes from making it more difficult for the opposition. They can't allow Real Madrid or Manchester City to have the extra man in the build-up. Now, this is the first goal. Now, Aston Villa, the goalkeeper, as we know, is a really confident player on the ball, and they were causing Liverpool problems initially. For me, he gets a little bit cocky because if he passes that ball there to Pau Torres, he makes the mistake. Obviously, Mo Salah's come up, but Mo Salah's late. He's not really there to press. And there is the easy way out on this side to Konza and Cash, and there's no problem at all. So even though the first goal comes from Aston Villa playing out, it's not really great pressing from Liverpool. It's really poor from the goalkeeper. As I said, he can easily just come this side and Aston Villa are out. But it's a great finish from Mo Salah. Now, onto the second half, the second goal, slightly different again from Liverpool. It's more of a 4-4-2 sort of zonal press, not really man-to-man. But this fella who's been fantastic all season forces them down one side. Again, they have the extra man at the back, the 3v2. Works for them this time. And then those 3 players were mentioned in midfield. So Bosley, fantastic. Gravenberch, the goal. And McAllister, who looked back to his best at the weekend. So it was great to see Liverpool back pressing, getting goals in those situations. But if I'm being totally honest, I think a lot of that was to do with the poor sort of ability and chances the goalkeeper was taking of Aston Villa. And when you come up against the quality of Real Madrid and Manchester City, it's a different level. So for me, I'd like to see Liverpool go a little bit more man-to-man, especially at Anfield tomorrow.
Looking forward to watching this on Super Sunday. Man City, Liverpool coming your way. 4:30 kickoff, that one.
He didn't use them. In fact, he went quite the opposite. When we have a look at the different teams that have played Liverpool this season, well, Aston Villa are actually the team that played the least long passes against Liverpool all season. So quite a strange way, maybe, from Unai Emery of approaching this game, but certainly played into Liverpool's strengths.
But if you're Unai Emery and you've got a team that have just won 4 in a row, playing his way, why would you change?
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, they'll all say, why didn't you change? You know, you had that team that have done so well. But really, really interesting, you know, that the struggle was there. You could see, you know, the message coming out of Liverpool is we're not finding it right. It's not happening for us just yet. And the relief in the stadium, the relief of the players, the relief of the manager at the weekend, yeah, it's great and the headlines were there, but when the manager goes away and thinks about this, that 4v4 that you showed, I mean, that was incredible to see. That they've got a real even match now, and that, as you say, with walking space, with everything that they have up there, to not say, OK, let's take advantage of this, I'd question it, no matter how well they did in their previous matches. How are other teams doing so well lately against Liverpool? And will we walk through them because they're low in confidence, or should we do what the other teams were doing? He went one way, it didn't happen for him. Not going to be too harsh on him. It was a good performance by Liverpool, but you're right, they got their confidence.
Yeah, and I think one thing is for sure that Liverpool would be absolutely delighted. If they knew that Aston Villa were going to play like that, they couldn't have handpicked at this time of the season, where they are, with the amount of games they've lost and maybe the lack of confidence, they couldn't have handpicked a team better than Aston Villa to come and try to play them at their own game.
City next, but before we get to that, there's a subplot to the weekend which is really interesting. Apart from Ekitike, he went back to all the outfield players that won the league last season.
Yeah.
So there weren't any of his new signings anywhere near it. He went back to his tried and trusted. He had Gravenberch back in. Szoboszlai was outstanding. Salah was brighter. And they've kept a clean sheet as well for the first time in 11 games. Is that, despite the fact they've won the game with a clean sheet, is that a concern? Is that a conundrum for him now moving forward?
I think it is. I mean, why would you change a winning formula, let's say? Of course, we all know that Liverpool had to make a few changes over the summer. Reserve goalkeeper was going to leave and one was going to be replaced. Trent Alexander-Arnold obviously leaving. They had to do something there. Of course, the horrific situation with Diogo Jota as well. They needed,
and Diaz.
Exactly. Diaz left. But as much as they needed to replace some of those, they didn't necessarily need wholesale changes. Did they need Kerkez, for example? A lot of people pensioned Andy Robertson off pretty early, in my opinion.
And that
now
was
all
the
of a
first game
sudden,
that Robertson has started in the league.
And now all of a sudden everybody's saying, well, maybe they should just revert back to that. I think it's funny because certain teams it works with, but I think the vast majority of teams that make wholesale changes, they can struggle. We've seen it with Nottingham Forest. They really struggle making all those. And then all of a sudden they gel over a period of time and then have a wonderful season. I think when you've won the league and you make so many changes, then that's a little bit strange, let's say. And Liverpool could, in hindsight, have done it more gradual. In fact, I think Arne Slot is going to go back to that and think, right, OK, let's just make this. Let's go back to the tried and trusted, which they did, as you say. Only Ekitike was the only new signing that played at the weekend. And I think that they will try to do that now and maybe just blood the new signings a little bit slower.
People say it's a nice problem for Arne Slot to have, but it's a head-scratcher as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, on your way up to the top, but it's even tougher keeping on top. And they've been brilliant, There's been players there that have been outstanding for long periods of time, and change has to happen, And Liverpool always did that well. Back in the glory days, they knew how to change a team around. It seemed a little bit severe this summer. It really did. And maybe that's just the reason it's a little bit uncertain at the moment. And I wouldn't bet against them gelling, bringing the whole thing together. But how do you play if how do you go from being so good and then suddenly you think, well, OK, Salah, you were our main man for so long now. We'll just leave you as maybe a bit part player. You say, how's that happened? And then suddenly he comes in and shows that he's still very much the player he always was. I think it's it's been a good weekend for Liverpool. They're back on track a bit.
Yeah. And one thing I would say as well is I don't think it's concerning long term. I think these players, everybody recognises, they're fantastic players. Isak is unbelievable. Ekitike is fantastic, the impression he's made. Wirtz is an amazing player. There's so many good players. It might just be a little bit of doing it a little bit slowly.
OK.
Joint most goal involvements for a single club in Premier League history. Mo Salah is now joint with Wayne Rooney on 276, 188 goals and 88 assists there. A goal, and he scored many of them, that will be so important given the way he started the season.
Yeah, I think he needed that goal. It certainly contributed to a victory for the team, so that was important. But I think he's had a difficult start to the season by his standards. He set his bar so high last year and drove the team onto the title. He just needed a little something to go his way, and certainly, once again, Villa contributed to that.
Yeah, Liverpool back in business. How crucial is that for Mo Salah's confidence and the team's confidence?
Yeah, it wasn't perfect from Liverpool, but it's a start. They were out-thought last weekend, and in midweek the manager made all those changes in the Carabao, and they were made with one eye on that game yesterday and another eye on Tuesday on Real Madrid. So that's one game that they've won. Their pressing was better, their energy was better. Still not back to what the manager would want, but they punished mistakes from Aston Villa. As Arne Slot said, got a little bit of luck with their second goal, but it didn't matter how yesterday. It just mattered that they got the 3 points, and that builds confidence and belief, and Liverpool have been way short of that in recent weeks.
Yeah, they really have 6 defeats in their last 7 games in all competitions. Worrying, we were wondering, full-blown crisis, mini-crisis, how would they get out of it?
Well, listen, they started the season with 5 victories in the Premier League, and we're all thinking, wow, they're retaining the title, they look very strong this year, and all of a sudden they get 4 defeats on the bounce, and that's the beauty of football, I suppose. They were conceding too many cheap goals. The opposition were finding it too easy to get in behind them and hurt them, and they need to solve that because they've got enough attacking players in their ranks to get the goals to drive them where they want to be. They've just got to be tighter defensively.
Yeah, important, as you mentioned, those changes in the Carabao Cup, obviously in midweek, with one eye, as you said, on trying to get back to winning ways in the Premier League. He went back to a little bit more of a familiar midfield.
Yeah, Gravenberch was back in after missing the Brentford game, wasn't it? So, and I think he adds a bit of stability in there. And those three, they know each other's game. There's definitely more energy, more aggression about their game, particularly in the midfield. I was really surprised that Aston Villa weren't more direct because they kept playing short, and that played right into Liverpool's hands, particularly with the way they pressed. They got the goal off a mistake from the goalkeeper, but it was because they were pressing. They got the second goal also because of the way they were pressing and didn't allow any space in the middle there for Aston Villa players. So it's a start. It's something to say, look, we've got the right result. I wouldn't say the pressure's off them, but because of the next 2 games that they've got, Madrid and Manchester City, but you've got to start from somewhere, and that's what they desperately needed, that win yesterday.
Yeah, just speaking of Tuesday in the Champions League at Anfield, the return of Trent Alexander-Arnold is all anyone is talking about, and that's coming on Tuesday. And then the small matter of Manchester City just 5 days later. Big games.
They're 2 massive games to take into an international break. I know what it's like as a manager, and you're desperate to certainly win the one before you go in. You've got a couple of weeks losing your players potentially. But listen, what 2 fantastic games that will shape the European Cup, and obviously on top of that, the Premier League.
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit more about your experience as a manager and perhaps helping us understand Arne Slot and how he's struggling to kind of fit everyone in. He's still working out, who should start, who shouldn't start. He changed in midweek. He changed again yesterday. Just talk to us about what that's like as a manager.
Well, he's made some big judgment calls, moving Núñez on. Núñez maybe not hit the ground running, but he was a fan's favourite. His energy was a big thing. Diaz leaving the football club, obviously, was a big one for me. I didn't see that. I didn't see the need to ship him out. I understood that maybe he needed to balance the books slightly because of the players he wanted to bring in, and he saw Isak as a big foil for Ekitike as well. So he's trying to freshen the squad up, but by trying to freshen it up, it almost put it back a little bit. I think they'll get better. Wirtz will get better as well as the season goes on, and the togetherness as a group will get better. But Arne has probably been really fortunate last year. He walked into a football club that had been managed by somebody, and the team ethic and that Klopp developed was fantastic to just slip into. Now all of a sudden he's had the odd challenge or 2, and listen, he's a great manager. He's got a Premier League title behind him already in 1 season, so it'll be interesting how he develops this.